Hello everyone, Namaste, this is Muskan. A very warm welcome to my channel. I hope that you all are doing great, that you're having a great day. And as promised, I'm back with another video where I'm going to talk about books. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk about collection of short stories. And there are 5 books in total. So yeah, let's get started with the video. The first book that I want to share with all of you is from an author that I recently came across, and the book is The Giant Tree of Benevolence by Sankalp Ranjan. To be very honest, I didn't have much expectation when I started reading this book. But as I progressed, it surprised me. This book ended up surprising me. And what caught my attention at first was the book dedication. It is so subtle, it's so beautiful. It gives you a feeling that you're close to your home. It gives you a feeling that you are in a haven, a place where you could seek refuge and you feel comforted. So that is the feeling that it gives, that the book dedication gives, and it goes like, to all those who are done with skyscrapers, to all those who covet chow. It is so beautiful and so homely, right? So this particular book is a collection of epiphanies and short stories. There are 7 stories in total. And as I was reading it, I could devise out, or I could draw out the literary techniques being deployed by the author in this particular work. I could find the use of imagery, symbolism, metaphors, stream of consciousness. There's one story named as A Deserted Home, which is written in dream allegory. It's written in dream sequence and is my favorite amongst all of them. So while reading it, I found that it is a little close to the writing style of Anton Chekov, which is great. And there's one story, where I guess there is a travel experience of the author. It is written while traveling, I guess. So the chapter name is chapter 1 by 2, or I don't know how to call it out, 1 by 2 or half. So in that story, the protagonist is a girl named Ankita, who is discovering about herself through travel, and it's a really beautiful narrative. When you start reading it, you won't be able to connect the dots. I'm talking by my experience. Your experience might be different, but when I started reading it, I was not able to connect the dots. I could not devise the meaning out of it. But as I progressed towards the climax, as I progressed towards the end of the story, read the last pages of that particular story, I could make complete sense of what the author is trying to talk about in that particular story. It made complete sense how she tried to let go and try to live on and move on with her life. That particular point where she is standing, holding the handle of the train, gate of the train, that is really beautiful. That part is really beautiful. Although I feel that there are certain stories, just some of them, 1 or 2, where I felt that it spoke more for the writer than the reader. When we write from our actual experiences, real life experiences, or when we draw inspiration from our real life experiences, it becomes a little difficult to express them to the reader, or even if we are talking about our experiences to some other person, it becomes difficult to explain what we actually felt in that moment. So that part is a little bit missing, that it's speaking more for the writer, but that is completely justified when I saw his other works. There's a channel that he has on YouTube, and on that channel he publishes or uploads his short films, which are very beautiful to watch and gives you an entire experience. I really loved watching them. So I'm going to mention the link in the description, so you make sure to check that out as well. It's a great channel, and the stories are really great. The movies are perfect. To define them, they are perfect. So this is what this book contains, and to make this book even more interesting, what the thing is that author has done is that he has added pictures. Every reader wants there to be pictures in their books. That makes the book even more interesting to read and makes the entire reading experience memorable. I'll just show you some of them here, and they also mentioned dates when this picture were clicked. Check it out. There are more, I'll show you. There's this one. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed reading this book and I look forward to reading more from this author. And do check out his channel. The link will be mentioned in the description. The second book of today's video is something that I have already reviewed on my channel, and I'll mention the link in the description, so you can go and check out the detailed review of that book. And the book is Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. Now this has been shortlisted. This was shortlisted for Booker Prize in the year 2022, and this particular work is my most favorite. In the list of my favorite books of all time. This is a collection of short stories and it is a genre defying book, and by saying genre defying I mean that the author has not stuck to a particular theme in all of the stories, but when you read you can find the use of magical realism with the use of the theme of horror and a theme of realism. You can find all of them in this particular work. And while reading them, there was one particular review on Amazon when I purchased this book that said that please don't read this book at night. Although I didn't find anything that shocking or surprising that it makes you have a fear of the supernatural or the unnatural. It is nothing of that sort. I found it to be really surprising and nerve-wracking, gut-wrenching, whatever you may call it, but the stories are really great. And what the story talks about is that it's a critique on the facets of society, be it capitalism, be it patriarchy, be it the devil of conscience that sits at the mind of humans. So this is what the book talks about, and when you read it you could really realize what kind of society we are living in and what all things that we are to work upon. So it's a really beautiful book. There are 10 short stories in total, and I would highly recommend you to read this work. And there's one more work that I want to read by the same author, which is named as Your Utopia by Bora Chung, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Let's see when I get to read it. But yeah, this work was really surprising. This work is my favorite book of all times. The third book that I want to share with all of you is a really tiny, pretty little small book with very few pages, with a very small, thin book, and it is a Penguin Little Black classic. I got it from Amazon with just 50 rupees. I'm going to introduce you with the book, which is Gooseberries by Anton Chekov. Now this particular book, this particular publication has 3 of his short stories named as The Kiss, The Two Volyas, and the third one is Gooseberries. Now talking about Anton Chekov, I could say that he was a Russian playwright born in the year 1860, who was also a physician by profession. Now if we talk about Anton Chekov, we could say that he was associated with the literary movement of realism, which means the works dealing with the representation, the true representation of the contemporary social structure without the use of overtly fictional tools of magic or fantasy. Now, Anton Chekov was a brilliant man. He was a really great man. He used to treat many of his patients for free, and whatsoever he earned his livelihood through his writings. He has once famously said that medicine is my lawful wife and literature is my mistress. Now, all these 3 stories, the 3 short stories in this particular work exude different meaning for different readers. Readers could devise out different meanings. For example, it could mean something else for someone, it means differently for me. The first story, The Kiss, deals with the life of Ryabovich, who is an officer in the Reserve Artillery Brigade, and other officers along with him of the regiment are invited to an aristocrat's house for evening tea. And all of them, when they reach this particular house, it's a huge house, a huge building. So Ryabovich is a person who is really dull, he's really simple, and he finds it difficult to have a conversation with someone else, to talk to people, to be friends with someone. He finds it really difficult, and he finds him alone while being there. He is in his own thoughts, and after being bored for a while, he goes on a stroll around the house and finds himself in a really dark room, and to his surprise there's a lady who gives him a kiss. So the lady mistakes him for her lover, and because the room is really dark, so that happens. And since that moment, Ryabovich is completely engulfed by that experience. He has started being so hopeful, he looks so in love, and he is so, he blooms like a flower because of that particular experience. And this particular experience that he has back at that aristocrat's house gives him a diversion from the experiences of the battlefield, and from the and it is a true representation of the 19th century Russian society, of being held into a particular system, of being asked to follow a particular system. So that is what I said in the beginning, right, that Anton Chekov was associated with realism. So that is what happens in this particular story, and the other stories are great at the same level because it's Anton Chekov. How could you expect any less? And after reading this particular work by Anton Chekov, I want to read more of Penguin Black classics. These are so beautiful, right? And the next book that I want to read from the classical genre are there's one, White Nights by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I want to start reading Dostoevsky by that particular work. It's a short story, and I can start my Dostoevsky journey from that particular work. So yeah. So the second last book in today's video is The Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri. Now I cannot tire myself enough for talking about Jhumpa Lahiri. I love her writing style, I love her works, and first book that I read from her is The Namesake, and after that I read Whereabouts, and I have diligently annotated that particular book, The Whereabouts. Then I picked up this one. I got this one in my hands, and this particular work is a collection of 9 short stories. Now on the surface level, all of the stories will feel the same, feel one and the same, but when you analyze it from a deeper perspective, you could find the themes of relationships, human relationships, of cultural differences, of ideological differences, of identity crisis, and of how difficult it is to survive in a different land altogether, in a different country, far away from your home. So these are the themes that all of the Jhumpa Lahiri's works deal with, and it has been a really long time that I read another of her work, and I'm going to plan very soon to read her again, to read Jhumpa Lahiri work again. So I have discussed this book in detail in one of my videos on YouTube, and I will again mention the link in the description so that you can go and check it out, a detailed review of this book. There's a particular story in this book named A Real Darwan, which I read as a part of my school syllabus, and back then I wasn't much aware of this complete reading industry. I wasn't much aware of that, because if I had known about Lahiri back then as much as I know now, I would have started reading these books back then itself. But better late than never. So yeah, this is a really beautiful book, and I am going to soon start reading another of her work. We have reached the conclusion of this video, and the fifth and the last book that I am going to share with all of you is a book that you cannot not discuss when you are discussing short stories. How can you forget about Ruskin Bond when you are talking about short stories? Am I right or am I right? So this particular work, or this particular book, is named as The Song of the Forest, and it has been recently released, recently published. And as soon as I saw the cover itself, I was engulfed in this space where, it's raining, it's pouring, and you're having a cup of coffee and you're reading it sitting by the window. This is the vibe that all of the stories of Ruskin Bond give you, and is a perfect companion while you're traveling. All of the stories are so beautiful, the themes are so rich, it takes you to an entire journey. Ruskin Bond takes you to be in the mountains. Sometimes you are in the mountains, and for other times you are traveling in a train, and other you are sitting in a dark room. There are stories which are written of themes of horror. There's about temple, there are about characters who are a hero in their own lives. It's so great to read about all of his work, and to read about him. And if I talk about Ruskin Bond, I would say that He was born in 1934 in Kasauli, and he lost his father at a very young age of 10 years. He was 10 years old when he lost his father, and after that he had a really troubled childhood, and the only thing that he found solace in was his stories, and that is how he became a writer. He found home in the stories as he read them, and set out to become a writer himself. And all of the things that lacked in his life, the childhood that every child craves for, he wrote them in his works. And his works are really beautiful, and his works have also been adapted as movies and TV series. You can find one of them as, everyone must have heard of the movie Saat Khoon Maaf by Vishal Bhardwaj. That particular movie is adapted from Ruskin Bond's story Susanna's Seven Husbands, and there's one movie named Junoon, which is an adaptation of another of his short stories, The Flight of Pigeons. And there's one more movie by Vishal Bhardwaj named as The Blue Umbrella. Now, Ruskin Bond won the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1992 for his work Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra. He won the Padma Shri in 1999, and he has also won the Padma Bhushan. So he has been awarded with so many accolades. He has received so many accolades. There are so many feathers in his caps, and he's such a beautiful person. You could just go on YouTube or any online platform, search Ruskin Bond and hear him speak, read his works. It has become a cult. Not everyone is a fan of Ruskin Bond. I mean, everyone is a fan of Ruskin Bond. There are few people who will come at you. These are the people who will, anytime they will come at you at every time, any point of time, that no, what are you saying? This work is not that great. Let them, because this particular work is really gorgeous. And I took this book. I had this book while I was traveling one time. I take this book out when it is raining and I read it, and currently it has got a little bit cloudy outside, so I might pick this book right now and start reading it again. So yeah, this was all for today's video. These are the 5 collection of short stories that I want to talk about since quite long, and now I finally did. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you liked watching this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you did not, give it a thumbs down. No worries. Just stay happy, stay blessed, and keep reading. And please do comment. Until we meet next time. Ciao.